Suja, Dominican Republic, on the eve of Kristallnacht, the night in November 1938 when synagogues burned across Germany and the Nazis arrested tens of thousands of Jews. My father's family escaped from Berlin and fled to one of the few places in the world willing to take in Jewish refugees. They settled in Suja, a remote beach town on the northern coast of the Dominican Republic. The country's dictator, Rafael Trujillo, had offered the Jews safety in exchange for a promise to develop the land. This is the story I heard countless times. It was paradise, my 89-year-old Angelo would say, weaving my family's heritage into a little-known part of Holocaust history. But the story never entirely made sense. As it was told to me, a small Caribbean country saved my family at a time when more powerful nations such as the United States and Britain refused to do the same. In return, the Jews transformed a jungle coastline into a peaceful settlement with a hospital and a school. My grandfather, a salesman by trade, became the village baker. Hundreds of others, accountants, nurses, tailors, learned to ride horses and clear roads. The story always ended the same way, and with little explanation. Suja had been ruined, I was told, its streets overrun by prostitutes and foreigners. The town had become a destination for sex tourism, tainted by pickpockets and drugs. My family moved away, like so many others, and never returned. My father lives in Santo Domingo, where I was raised, and his parents and two sisters ended up in Miami. People often act surprised when I tell them that I'm Jewish and Dominican, and I've yet to meet anyone who knows about Suja. Never forget, people say about the Holocaust. But this part of Jewish history has been almost completely lost, and the story I'd been told seemed incomplete. I thought I knew the beginning and the end. In July, I left for Suja to find out the rest. It quickly became clear why so many chose to forget. When the settlers arrived in Suja, the beach was uninhabited. Often, they would have the entire area to themselves. Hans Deutsch/American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee. The first thing I wanted to see was the beach. I remembered seeing photos of my father's family along the shore. The refugees would hang their clothes on sea grape trees and wade into the shallow waters. After school, the village children would often have the beach to themselves. My father warned me to stay away from the shore. The beach, he said, had become a site for prostitution and crime. Could it really be that dangerous? I remembered going there as a kid, but I hadn't been back to the town in more than a decade. I asked Yvonne Strauss de Mills, a family friend and a descendant of refugees who lives in Suja, to take me there. Is that the purse you're taking? She asked, then instructed me to zip it shut. The shore was strewn with mismatched umbrellas and beach chairs scattered in front of hundreds of shacks selling cigars, souvenirs, Presidente beer and Dominican aphrodisiacs. It didn't look that unsafe. But around the beach, several people later told me, tourists can find any type of sex they might want: straight, gay, trans, even illegal sex with minors. Prostitution has long been a part of Dominican culture, but nowhere does it feel more entrenched than in Suja. Elsewhere, the industry exists in the grays of life, largely unregulated, widely known but rarely seen. The sex trade took off in Suja in the 1980s and 90s, after a nearby airport opened and foreign tourists flooded the town. Over the next few decades, the hotel industry boomed, and Dominican women, facing insecure and low-paying job prospects, headed for Suja hoping to find more profitable work. As prostitution increased, it drew more tourists looking for sex, and the town got a reputation as a major sex tourism destination. Today, a short walk from the beach, on the main drag of Calle Pedro Glissant, dozens of prostitutes line the sidewalk in front of the busy open-air restaurants and bars filled with foreign men. Suja has a before and after, said Alexandra Lister, a program manager with Keprosh, a health organization based in Puerto Plata, who has worked with sex workers in the region since the 1990s. And the after isn't pretty. Many longtime locals, such as Yvonne, are upset that prostitution has consumed Suja's reputation. Efforts to discourage the trade have failed, and its prevalence means that the town's businesses, hotels, restaurants, cafes, benefit from it, whether the owners condone sex work or not. As we drove away, Yvonne pointed out one hotel. It was a 3-story building, painted lime green and white, where she said my grandparents' house had once stood. A man named Joe Benjamin had lived next door. Before my trip, several people had told me to speak with him. He understood why Suja had changed. He was the one I was going to see next. Joe's family arrived in Suja in 1947, part of the last Heart